Welcome to Woodstock City Council. It is Thursday, April the 15th, 2021. This meeting is being held electronically in accordance with Section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and Section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock procedural bylaw. This meeting is being live streamed on the city's YouTube channel, and a recording of the meeting will also be posted on the city website following the meeting. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agenda, meetings, and minutes page of the city website. Councillors will be raising their hands in view of the webcam when moving a motion, when requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later time. If a councillor needs to leave the meeting at any time, they're requested to inform the clerk. And today we are going to begin our meeting with a moment of silence. Council lost Councillor Ron Fraser on Sunday, April the 4th, and his service both to the city council, to the community as retired police chief. There's many people in the community he has touched. The family has held service during the current reality we're all living in. And at some point in the future, there will be a celebration of life with the honors that are due to Mr. Fraser. So with that, we're going to take a moment to reflect and commemorate Councillor Ron Fraser. Rest in peace, Councillor Fraser. And I'd now ask that councillors turn on their webcams, and we'll get down to work. And at the end of the meeting, when we do our questions and addresses, I'm sure everyone would like to take a moment to share some of their fond memories or personal experiences of Councillor Fraser. So with that, any disclosure of conflict of interest? Councillor Schadenberg.
I, Councillor Mark Schadenberg, declare the following potential and direct pecuniary interest. Agenda item number 8B. The subject matter is ZN 8-20-33, application for a zone change, City of Woodstock, under the general provisions. I am employed by a company that has a pecuniary interest in this matter.
Thank you. Any further disclosures? Seeing none. Any disclosure of new business? Matters arising from the minutes? And we'll have our minutes from our regular meeting held April 1st, 2021. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Tate, that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Woodstock City Council held on April the 1st, 2021 be adopted.
Thank you. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And we have no additions to the agenda or presentations today, so we'll get right to delegations. And today we are joined by Jeffrey Smither from Matheson 3 Productions, and working with a filming of a Netflix television series. Welcome.
Hi, thank you very much for having me as a delegate. Are you all able to hear me?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. So what we're asking for is we're planning on doing a day of filming currently on the 13th, which is Thursday, 13th of May. And what I'm here to seek permission for is to do intermittent traffic stoppages on Dundas Street close to Finkel, to the Civic Square by the museum. We plan to do some filming in the square. We'll be seeing Finkel Street and Dundas Street fairly extensively, and we're trying to turn it into part of our fictional town, which is set in Massachusetts. And in order to control the vehicles that we see and also the sound while we're recording and filming, we're seeking intermittent traffic stoppages on Dundas. They will be probably 3 to 4 minutes in length, and they will be conducted by paid duty police officers. I have a diagram which I can share just to give you an idea of the area that we're talking about. I don't think I'm sharing it yet. Just one moment while I hit the right button. Can you all see that? So basically, our filming angle is going to be generally camera up in this area looking down towards Finkel Street. We will have some reverses. We plan to dress basically from 451 to I think 471 on the street across here. And we'll also have a picture vehicle come up into the park at one point. These are, we'd like to close off Finkel Street for safe working practices, and also because we plan to put a lift here, which will encroach a bit onto the road. We would also like to close off Market Street from here so that we can have places to stage our working equipment without being able to see it in the square. So these are the paid duty police officer positions that we would like to put in. We will book cruisers so that they have high visibility, and we'll place them there. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Mr. Smither. First off, let me say I've gotten into the series, so this is kind of exciting for me. I've got to admit.
Great.
So well done. Keep it up.
Thanks.
The question I have is more towards the businesses that will be impacted a little bit during this. I don't know what your normal practices are, and I'm sure you have something in place, but I'm assuming you go, you see them, they're aware of everything, because they're going to have to close their doors for a period of time, I would imagine, as well.
Sure. So we are in touch with all of the businesses on the block that are across from the and surrounding the square, because we're actually going to be dressing the front of some of the stores to reflect different businesses. And as I say, the traffic stoppages will be fairly short, 3 to 4 minutes at a time. Then traffic flows through. Same thing with pedestrians. We will have some of our own background performers, extras, if you will, walking on the road and in the park. So we will, but when we're not filming, people are free to go up and down. We're of course going to keep people right out of our particular set because due to COVID conditions, we're all tested, we're all screened every single day. So we try and keep ourselves separate from the general populace. But yes, we are in touch with those businesses along there. And we'll also send out letters on a wider scale to probably 3 blocks on either side of us and up and down the side streets, indicating to people that this activity is going to be going on. And we send that letter out. We'll probably put it out on Monday the 10th. So it'll be a few days for people to respond.
Okay, so I'm assuming no issues then with the current businesses, everybody you've spoken to now. I haven't heard of any myself, but.
Yeah, we're also in touch. We will be in touch with the BIA, and we're also in touch with the economic development people. So we're working with the city government to make sure that this is as smooth as possible.
Excellent. Thank you. And welcome to the city.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Mr. Smither.
Hello.
Do you require no cars to be parked on Dundas Street or on Finkel?
Yeah, so Finkel Street, we would need to have cleared from basically from Simcoe or Peel to Dundas, and on the block of that we see from the thing. So that would be from, I think it's Gordon.
It's Riddell through to Graham.
Riddell to Graham. Yes, that's right.
So that would be something we'd have to get in touch with our Board of Works to make sure that, because I mean, people start parking on the street first thing in the morning, so you'd want to have it cleared ahead of time. So we'd need to, Board of Works would have to be notified, and that would all have to have no parking up until the time that the streets were actually closed.
Right. So typically what we do, and we will coordinate this with the city, but typically what we do is we hire staff to come down and place road cones along the road when we have the time when we're agreeing that we're going to take the parking over, and then they watch that and just make sure that no one parks there, politely asking people to go. If there's someone who's just coming in for a pickup at a business, just pick up and go. We allow that kind of thing to happen.
Well, you might want to reconsider and just have the parking removed from the street for the time that you need to have the time that you're going to be doing the filming, as those are great plans, but sometimes they don't always work. And we do parades here, and we find that even with parades, sometimes, even though that they're marked no parking, people still park, and we actually have to tow the cars away. So better to be prepared. It's one block that it would be better, or sorry, 2 blocks would be better to have no parking done probably the night before or very early in that morning.
Great. Thank you very much. And we'll discuss that with the Board of Works.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation, and we'll deal with the resolution after our next delegation.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our next delegation, we have the manager of the Downtown Business Improvement Association, Virginia Armstrong, regarding the 2021 budget. Welcome.
Excuse me. Thank you. Mayor Birch, councilors, guests, and staff. I'm here today with our manager in the background. Steve McGregor is from your neighborhood credit union, and he is the BIA chair. We're here today to present the 2021 budget for the BIA. All of you have that in front of you. You will see that for this year, we have remained constant, the same as last year, with a 0% increase. So we are looking at $159,630. And on top of that, we do have some funding coming in. So we did receive a grant from the Oxford Economic Stimulus Fund and Community Futures in the amount of $25,000 to go towards some stimulus of outdoor patios, some social media, and other incentives that will hopefully assist us with this pandemic and helping our downtown businesses. I guess at this time, I just ask if there's any questions.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
And I thank you.
Okay. And now we'll move along to consideration of delegations. So motion on our first one. Councillor Tate.
Make the motion that Woodstock City Council approve the request for Matheson 3 Productions for a road closure on Dundas Street to accommodate the filming of Lock and Key, subject to any necessary requirements and restrictions as deemed appropriate by city staff, and further that staff be authorized to set appropriate fees and charges for the use of city resources for the filming, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign any necessary agreements.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And our next one, the 2021 BIA budget. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the Downtown Woodstock BIA Board of Management 2021 budget as presented.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Lauder. Discussion. Councillor Schattenberg.
Yeah, thanks. Maybe just as a point of clarification, just wanted to confirm that the formal Street Fest event in August will not occur this year with downtown performers and musicians and bands.
Sorry, that's correct. Yes, we have not booked anything for that. We have some funding put away for potential special events, but at this time, we haven't confirmed what those will be.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. Thank you. Oh. Mr. Smither?
Yes, I'm sorry. I did forget to add one thing in my delegation, and that is that our show is planning to come back for a second section of filming, also at the square and in that immediate vicinity, sometime in June or very early July. Dates still to be determined, but we would be asking for the same kind of intermittent traffic stoppages then. So I just wanted to add that as a bit of clarification to everyone.
Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing the results.
Great. Thank you so much, all. Bye-bye.
And moving along, our next item on the agenda is our planning reports. And we have one that will be deferred and come back again. So looking for a motion on that one. And that's for Parkinson Road and Springbank Ave. Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council defer the application for lands described as Part Lot 16, Concession 2, formerly East Oxford in the city of Woodstock, to rezone the subject property from Special Highway Commercial Zone C4 36 to amended Highway Commercial Zone C4 36 to permit a retail building supply establishment in addition to the uses currently permitted in the C4 36 zone.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Tate. Discussion. Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And we'll see that and hear our presentations at a future meeting. So our next planning is the application for zone change on the general provisions regarding the recreational vehicles. And looking for a mover there. To get it on the floor. And I think we have some alternate motions as well, but to get something on the floor so that our senior planner can speak to it. Councillor Accioni.
Yes, I'm going to make motion Woodstock City Council direct staff to prepare the necessary zoning bylaw amendment in order to make amendments to section 5.2.6 commercial vehicle, recreational vehicles, and utility vehicles to include a provision that prohibits the human occupancy of recreational vehicles being stored. Sorry, it's hard to read. Stored on lot, including provision that requires that a driveway and parking area for residential dwellings with less than 4 units shall be provided and maintained with a stable surface, crushed stone or gravel, asphalt, brick, concrete, or other hard surface material. And I'm sorry, I thought this was the one with the 72 hours included in it. So, and to allow 72 hours, I think I read the wrong one, truth be told. If I may. Well, for the sake of putting it on the floor, sorry about that. Can I just add with
Yeah, go ahead.
allowing of 72 hours to this, and then we can discuss? So I think there's a bunch of questions.
Yep. What we can do, we'll maybe go with the correct motion. We'll have you do it again if you find the full version there. Or if anyone else finds it quicker,
Yeah.
we'll go, okay, we'll go Counselor Lauder.
That's not the one I wanted.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the proposed zoning bylaw amendment file number ZN 8-20-33 to make amendments to definitions Section 2 and general provisions Section 5 as they relate to the parking of recreational vehicles and utility trailers on residential properties, and further that any comments received from the public were received and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter. I just put that one forward to get the discussion on the floor.
That's right. We might come back with another one after the discussion. So a seconder on that, Counselor Accioni and Ms. Hassler, welcome.
Thank you. So this application for zone change was submitted by the City of Woodstock under the direction of City Council. If Council may recall, there was a delegation a number of months ago regarding the parking of recreational and utility vehicles on residential properties, which prompted Council to direct staff to prepare a report with multiple options for the parking of these types of vehicles on residential sites. And so then back in November, the City Building and Engineering Departments put together a report for Council with multiple options. And the option that is before Council today is the option that that Council chose for staff to apply for the zone change with. So this application for a zone change applies to all residential properties in the City of Woodstock as they relate to the parking of these types of vehicles. The proposal before Council today is that these types of vehicles would be permitted to park in front in driveways or exterior yards through the months of May to October, and that would be for up to 72 hours. And those would be, just for the clarification of that, it's 72-hour periods as opposed to 72 hours over the course of those months. And then also it would also allow for, it would prohibit the human occupancy of any of these recreational vehicles that are stored on any lots, residential lots. And then also it would include a requirement for parking areas that have more than 4 residential units and that they would be under a hard surface. And so those are basically the amendments that are being proposed, and what Council what staff was attempting to do was to try to find a balance between what the public has been asking, or public and perhaps others, what they had been asking for, and then also trying to find some sort of balance between safety amongst motor vehicles and pedestrians, so not to interfere with sight lines, as well as to not impact the visual appearance of streetscapes, and then in general just to not pose a risk to public safety. And so the provisions before Council today were to seek a balance between those requests and then the public health and safety and enjoyment of residential properties. So we feel that the proposal before Council is supportable by the official plan, in that it doesn't impact, it shouldn't have a negative impact on safety or the character of the area. So we recommend that the application be approved.
Thank you. Questions of Council? Councillor Accioni?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll apologize to everybody for messing that one up so bad. A few questions here. I have spoken with a number of residents that called after the meeting Monday evening, and a couple of valid points I think were brought up. First off, through to, I believe this would go to Mr. Wallace, the sizing, the 7.5 meters by 2.7 meters, I believe it is. Where did that size come from? Or Ms. Hatchler, if you happen to know. And because of course, most trailers are a fair bit larger than this. So just for public knowledge, Where'd they come from? Did I freeze
Your
up?
worship, through the counselor, perhaps I can, unfortunately, those are historical numbers. So I can't tell you where they originally came from. I'm sorry. They've been there for a while.
Okay, if I can continue, your worship. Okay. Well, I do think that might be something we'd want to look at to kind of change up the sizes to something maybe a little bit more current. With total knowing, though, of course, with all the new construction happening and the small driveways they seem to have, the thought was, of course, that's exactly where it came from with in respect to all these new driveways. The hard surfaces section, again, I'm not sure if Mr. Wallace will answer this or Mr. DeHaan. Gravel driveway is okay as long as it's hard packed, just to confirm. Doesn't have to be a paved driveway. There's another question being asked.
Your worship, through the council, yeah, it has to be a driveway, and the city does not have a bylaw requiring that all driveways have to be paved. So a gravel driveway is acceptable.
Perfect. Thank you. And my last one, if I may, your worship. Is there a reason why there's still a size restriction to the backyard? If there was somebody that wanted to park and was able to park it in their backyard, would this fall under any minor variance then to have something larger, or is there even a size restriction then?
Your worship, through the counselor, you're right. You are correct. A minor variance could be applied for if you wanted to park a bigger one in the backyard. Again, this option had that size in. It basically is very similar to the existing conditions, except that it allows the 72 hours. There were, two other options originally proposed that took out that size requirement. Council at the time decided on the option that had the size requirement in it, which is why the size requirement is in the current. Which is why the size requirement is in the currently applied zoning provision. All right.
Okay, so if I can just confirm, minor variances are available for anything, even on a side yard or front yard. Somebody can apply for a minor variance on their particular property for any trailer. Is that not correct?
Residents can apply for minor variance on basically anything they want to on their property. We can't guarantee that's going to be approved, but residents are fully able to apply for anything they wish.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I did say I would bring those up during the meeting, so thanks, everybody.
Further discussion? Further questions of council? Okay, we're going to take a brief break. We have lost Councillor Talbot. We're trying to rectify that right now. So prior to proceeding, we'll just take a little break here, and we'll get going again when she's joined us. All right, there we are. Thanks for bearing with us. We have everyone back. So right now we're still in discussions on the application for zone change for the general provisions on recreation utility vehicles. Further discussion?
Your worship, can I ask what was discussed?
Well, we covered a bit of ground there. Let's see, maybe we'll have the Mr. DeHaan speak to what he was mentioning about the provision. If you could give us a recap, please.
Yes, basically the councillor asked some questions about the size criteria on the RV. And basically, as it was discussed Monday, if someone has a bigger RV, if they want to park it on the property, they need a minor variance. And also we talked about the driveways and that a gravel driveway is acceptable. Since the city of Woodstock does not have a bylaw requiring paved driveways, gravel driveways are acceptable.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni?
Yes, I apologize, and I don't know if this was already discussed, but it looks like I'm back up and running. Is there any way to do a friendly amendment and delete the size of the trailers if everybody agrees to that? Is that?
So that's some very specific wording within the bylaw. So we
Yes.
probably need to have planning come back with a revision on the bylaw on that, rather than a friendly amendment.
And if I may, my only concern is for the sake of doing the minor variances, I think we're going to throw so much work to them than anything with the sizing. If we leave the 72 hours in place, but eliminate the sizes, just from the feedback I've been getting, I don't have a trailer, so it didn't jump out at me, but it seems to be a big deal to general public.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none. And let's see, Councillor Schadenberg. Oh, he's on a conflict on that one. That's right. So, so we have the motion as it stands on the floor right now. And so is everybody prepared to take a vote on that one? By the sounds of it, I think that'll get defeated and we'll have a new one come back. So we'll go with the one that's on the floor right now. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? And opposed? And
I'm opposed.
And Councillor Talbot, thank you. So that one fails. So do we have a new motion to bring forward for consideration and discussion? Councillor Lauder?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council direct staff to prepare the necessary zoning bylaw amendment in order to make amendments to section 5.2.6, commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles, and utility vehicles, to include a provision that prohibits the human occupancy of recreational vehicles being stored on any lot, and include a provision that requires that a driveway and parking areas for residential dwellings with less than 4 units shall be provided and maintained with a stable surface of crushed stone or gravel, asphalt, brick, concrete, or other hard surface material.
Thank you. And a seconder on that one? Councillor Tate, discussion? And Councillor Talbot, any discussion on that one?
No, but I had a question that came to mind. I know we're talking about recreational vehicles. This has nothing to do with like trailers and stuff. Does this also include, say, those containers that are called like the moving box? This zoning doesn't capture that in, does it? That would be through to Andrea.
Thank you.
Through to Councillor Talbot's question. No, those are cargo containers, I think is what you're referring to. And there's separate provisions in the bylaw that speak to cargo containers.
Okay, thank you. And I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Accioni?
Yeah, I guess I'm a little confused right now. I can't sugarcoat it. As far as what's on the table right now, I guess we're not allowing it at all. Am I following that right? Without the 72 hours and everything else, or size? Ms. Hatchler, I guess, could answer that.
Through to Councillor Accioni's question, I believe that my understanding is what's being proposed is basically there would be, council is not considering the provision for the 72 hours Instead, what is being proposed is just that it would be the second part of the bylaw. So just basically that there would be no human occupancy prohibited in recreational vehicles. And then the additional item was that any parking spaces would be under hard surface. And so then the other provisions, I believe, are not on the floor right now.
So if I may, just to confirm, then we're allowing them to be parked there. We're getting rid of the 72-hour limits. So it'll be as long as they want without any size restrictions. Is that correct?
Through to Mr. or Councillor Artioni's question, currently the bylaw does not permit the parking of recreational vehicles at all in, that's right, not in the driveway or the exterior side yard.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting messed up here, that I'm not going to be in favor of this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And Councillor Talbot?
I'm in favor.
And those opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. And our next one up is Administrative Services, and we have the 2020 tender awards for information. See, Councillor Tate?
I'll move the motion to receive as information.
Thank you. And a seconder on that one? Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And Councillor Talbot?
I'm in favor.
And approved unanimously. Next up, we have some good news here. This is the Court Security and Prisoner Transportation Agreement, and we see a increase in the funding there, and the committee that we have working with the county will continue their work this fall to look ahead to next year. Looking for a mover on that one. Councillor Accioni, seconded by Councillor Lauder. Go ahead, Councillor Accioni.
Thank you. The Woodstock City Council authorized the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Solicitor General for Court Security and Prisoner Transportation.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And Councillor Talbot?
Favor. In favor.
And approved, unanimous. And next up, we have the 2020 Development Charges Reserve Fund Report. And we'll go Councillor Schadenberg, and a seconder will be Councillor Tate. Go ahead, Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, the Woodstock City Council received the 2020 Development Charges Reserve Fund Report as information.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And Councillor Talbot?
In favor.
And approved. Thank you. And we have the first quarter of the statement for the revenue fund for 2021 to March 31st. Councillor Accioni?
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council receive statement of revenue expenditures for the period ending March 31st, 2021 as information.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion? Councillor Schadenberg?
I guess I have a couple of questions, both through to Brian Connors in our Parks and Recreation Department. I notice on page 28 of the report, it makes a notice to the fact that Woodstock is receiving monies from the Jumpstart program. Can you explain why and how that's come about? Because there was nothing sort of, as they say, projected in our budget from Jumpstart.
Your Worship, through to the councillor's question, we don't project grant funding because we're not guaranteed that, and we'd hate to be in a deficit. But what this grant funding is we're planning to move forward with a program that would allow people that don't have skates or helmets to obtain them at the community complex for our public skating period. That way they can enjoy the sponsored skating that we've had here in the city for the last 7 years.
Thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, second question also to Mr. Connors. I know one of the things that was in our budget for this year was money spent towards a recreation needs assessment study, and I know you've got a bit of an update as to how that's progressing so far, and maybe even some limitations that unfortunately we might be facing this year with the same.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, the consultants have been picked, and we've had an initial kickoff meeting with them. They're currently in the phase of collecting the research information directly from staff, so that is happening now. The next step, and it has been complicated a little bit by this lockdown, is to start to look at getting community input. And that might be delayed for certainly for a couple more weeks. But the consultants are working on alternative virtual ways to get that input as well. And when that does come out, we will make sure that we publicize that wide and far.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And Councillor Talbot?
In favor.
Thank you. And carries unanimous. Next on the agenda, we have the surplus from the 2020 Revenue Fund. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that the Woodstock City Council approves allocating $500,000 of the 2020 surplus to the asphalt resurfacing reserve and the balance of approximately $1,390,000 to the reserve for capital projects.
Thank you. And a seconder. Councillor Tate. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And Councillor Talbot?
In favor.
And approved, unanimous. Thank you. And then we have the Drew Street Reconstruction Tender Award. So we'll start having some detours and big digs again here. Councillor Accioni?
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council award the tender for the reconstruction of Drew Street to Viewcon Construction Limited in the amount of $523,665.85 inclusive of HST.
Thank you. And a seconder on that one? Councillor Schadenberg. And we see you again, Councillor Talbot. Discussion? Councillor Schadenberg.
Thanks a lot. I have no idea, of course, what the schedule might be for construction on Drew Street for the residential building by Southside Group, but I wanted to just ask the engineer in general, when a project like this is coming up to sort of rebuild a road, including water mains, et cetera, how kind of coordination might be done with somebody who's also planning a future significant project on the same street.
Your worship, through the councillor, we have been in contact with the developer and we are working with them. So we are making sure that our plans for the work being done in the road allowance will meet up with their needs on site.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. Next up, we have the grant for the Small Business Enterprise Center. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the Small Business Center to use the grant received from the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, MEDJCT, Ontario Together Fund, $32,000, to utilize third-party services to fulfill the contract.
Thank you. And a seconder. Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And next up, we have the appointment to the Woodstock Heritage Committee. Councillor Tate.
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council appoint Wayne Gill to the Heritage Advisory Committee with a term ending November 14th, 2022.
Thank you. And a seconder on that one. We'll go with Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion? And Councillor Schadenberg?
Yeah, I guess maybe not necessarily a discussion on this point, but just to remind everybody to take a look at the City of Woodstock's boards and committees page, because I know our environment committee, one of the committees I sit on, is currently have a vacancy that we're looking to fill until November 14th, 2022. And again, if you're curious why that date is picked, obviously all committees, doesn't matter if you've been on for 4 years or 6 months, do dissolve at the time of the next municipal election. But I did want to point out that the environment committee is looking for somebody for the next year and a half or so. Thanks.
Thank you. And further discussion? Councillor Accioni?
Yeah, I just wanted to note and say rest in peace to Fraser Mark, who was a wealth of information on that committee and was able to enjoy last term with him. And it was just amazing the information he knew. So the whole city lost a very valuable member, and my respects go to the whole family and thank him for all those years of service.
Thank you for that. And I'm not sure if it's a second or a third cousin, but some of the great stories from Fraser Mark about his travels as a diplomat on behalf of Canada around the world, something fairly amazing that our community has definitely been proud of, and then his love for sharing that heritage with everybody else. So, look forward to seeing Wayne Gill roll up his sleeves on that committee, and hopefully we'll be able to have them meet face to face soon enough. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And next up, we have the appointment for the acting mayor, and this will be done in 2 parts. So I'll preside over the first part, so for the term, and then we'll have the clerk do the second part. So looking for a motion on the term. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council establish a term of office for the acting mayor to April 15th, 2021 through to January the 13th, 2022. And further, that Woodstock City Council shall select an acting mayor and the term of office at the regular meeting of council held on January 13th, 2022.
Thank you. And a seconder on that one, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And now I'll hand things over to the clerk for the nomination and election.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. So we will now proceed with the election of the acting mayor. Each member of council is entitled to 1 vote, and CAO David Creary has agreed to draw a name from a ballot box in the event of a tie. So I will now accept nominations via email, in this case, duly moved and seconded for the position of acting mayor. I do have 1 email from Councillor Lauder, seconded by Councillor Tate. Are there any further nominations that I may have missed? Okay, seeing none. So Councillor Schadenberg has been nominated. Councillor Schadenberg, are you willing to accept the nomination?
Yes, I would.
Great, thank you. So since we do only have the 1 nomination, then the motion on the floor is that Councillor Schadenberg be appointed as the acting mayor for the term of April 15th, 2021 through to January 13th, 2022. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we'll continue right along. So next up, we have the ratification of the memorandum of settlement for our outdoor unit. Councillor Tate.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the 2021-2023 QP Local 1146 outside unit collective agreement.
Thank you. And a seconder on that one. Councillor Talbot. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. Then we have Director of Public Works recruitment process. So Taylor Crinklaw will be leaving our employment, and we'll be looking to have a committee and looking for council's direction. Councillor Tate.
I'll make the motion that Woodstock City Council direct the CAO to manage the recruitment process with the best use of staff resources.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Councillor Tate.
Just like to comment that we will greatly miss the director and wish him luck in his next job. I'm sure he'll do fine, but sorry to see him go.
Thank you for that. Further discussion? Councillor Accioni.
Yeah, I just want to echo those statements and thank Taylor very much for his service here. And he's always been great to get a hold of and question right or answered right away and everything. So he will be missed and wish him luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And then next up, we have our advisory task force reports, and this is the 2021 community grant program, the spring intake. And we'll go with Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I will move that in accordance with the community grants policy GA 003, Woodstock City Council allocates the following grants for the year 2021. Oxford County Branch of Ontario Ancestors, $1,500. United Way Oxford, $2,000. Southgate Center, $4,000. Victoria's Quilts, Woodstock Oxford Branch, $2,000. Woodstock Curling Center, $5,000. And YMCA of Woodstock, $3,500.
Thank you. And seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Lauder.
Yes, I sit on that committee, and we didn't have as many come in this year, but there is another intake later in the year. We do have some money available. Of course, nothing like we have had in past years because that money came from funding from the OLG. But we have a great committee and we work really well together, and everyone does their homework, and Mr. Reeves is our chair, and it moves along very quickly. And I just want to thank all those, the committee, for the work that they do. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And that is it. No new business, so bylaws, and just need to make sure we don't include that other one, the two. So Councillor Lauder.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I wasn't sure on the one. So moved by myself and second by Councillor Schadenberg that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 9450-21, a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, represented by the Solicitor General for Court Security and Prisoner Transportation. And bylaw 9453-21, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-19-29-30, Lampman Place.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? And carries unanimous. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Tate, that the following bylaws be given third and final reading. 9450-21 and 9453-21.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And for our questions and addresses tonight, let's see, we'll start with Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just going to use my time to express my condolences to the Fraser family. I have known Ron for over 45 years. And it goes back to when he was a police officer walking the downtown core beat. And I worked in retail. A lot of the police officers at that time would always stop into the stores and check in on everybody. And I guess that was our first meeting. And I guess a friendship began a long, long time ago. He was always about his community and family way back then and never changed. It was a lifetime commitment to both. During his career and also later in life, he was faced with many challenges, good and bad, but took it in his stride. Ron always saw the good in things and people, regardless of the situation, and always had a smile. The community has benefited from his dedication. Thank you, Ron. We will miss you, and may you rest in peace. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Tate.
Yeah, I'm just going to use my time too. Like Councillor Talbot, I think I've known Ron just about almost my entire life. Him and my dad worked together for over 30 years. Very difficult. Had a call from his family, and I feel very bad for them. My condolences to them. When the paper called for comments, I said it's hard just to give one comment about Ron. I think the police chief summed it up very well. He said he's probably the kindest person I've ever known. One thing with policing, I think when you get to be in the position that he was, it was the same as my dad. You belong to organizations in the community because you are a strong believer in your community and you support it. It's not, it wasn't part of your job, and that was Ron. It's the same with going into politics. It was a natural progression because he cared so much about the community and he wanted to carry on that. He was always very committed. I talked to him, I think the week before that he passed away, because I was keeping him up to date on stuff, and he was very interested, wished he had more energy. He was, I think that's the only thing I can say is basically what Daryl said. He was probably the kindest person that he knew. And I would agree with that. Very amazing family man, amazing family. I said to the paper, one thing you can judge a person's character on is their children. And I think they are a fine example of what Ron was like. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. First, I will speak to the couple events in the city, and then I'll speak regarding Ron. The Woodstock Art Gallery gave away 500 grab bags in 2 hours on Saturday. It was a powerful moment for staff to see children with their families literally jumping up and down with excitement to receive these bags. A huge thanks goes out to Toyota Manufacturing in helping make this happen. And the second annual Art in Bloom auction has been launched, featuring great work from local artists, with proceeds being split between the gallery and the artists. The auction closes April 26th. Details are found on the gallery's website. Regarding Ron, he was, as both Councillor Tate and Councillor Talbot said, he was a great family man. Ron and I grew up north of Embro. We are related, and what I remember of Ron, I will always remember the great hugs he had for everyone. I express my condolences to the family. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I just want to take my time as well. Ron was my mentor. It's plain and simple. Years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, I asked if I could take him out for lunch one day and kind of picked his brain about joining City Council. And I'll never forget that conversation. We've talked about it many times over the years, that the kind of commitment and everything it takes in this position, and to have somebody like Ron with his commitment to our community for so many years, it's incredible. It's a huge loss, not only to his family, but to everybody. And Ron, I just want to say thank you so much for your guidance, and rest in peace, my friend. And thank you to his family and all the sacrifices that they allowed him to make in order to serve our community. And yeah, he'll be missed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank everyone on council, including the Mayor Trevor Birch, for selecting myself to be the acting mayor for the rest of this calendar year, up until whatever it is, January 13th of 2022. I'm not going to let the director of Public Works get off so easy at his last meeting here. I wanted to ask Taylor Crinklaw, first of all, we talk about Ron Fraser loving his community, and everyone sort of in this room loves the community as well. But when it comes to things like spring cleanup and whatnot, it becomes very safety becomes a very important thing. But we'd love all families to sort of go out and the social distance and whatnot, and or small groups of people that go out and help clean up parks and clean up trails and whatnot. But the director of Public Works at Taylor Crinklaw has a few, I don't know if we want to call them warnings, but just things to watch out for when you go out and do your public service. Go ahead, Taylor.
All right, thank you. And through the mayor. Yeah, I guess I'll just touch up base upon, I guess, the concerns from the Public Works Department. The outdoor environment can have some significant hazards to those conducting litter pickup. Just thinking of sharps, needles, and vehicular vehicles out in the road, that kind of thing. And that could cause some serious harm. So if anyone is out and about conducting litter pickup, there is a health and safety manual provided through the engineering department, which provides some tips and recommendations on how to do litter pickup safely. So if you're going out there, by all means, send in a call to the engineering department or come in and pick up one of these pamphlets, so that way you can conduct the work safely. I guess one thing I'd also just like to quickly note on top of that is our students will be doing, or will be hired the first week of May, and their first task is always to go out throughout the city and conduct litter pickup on our road right away. So regardless, we will have staff out there shortly. Thanks.
I want to say a few kind words on to Ron Fraser and his family as well. Obviously, you sit on city council and you want to help out the community. It would have been very easy for Ron to sort of step aside after his initial diagnosis with cancer, but he put his name forward again in 2018 to get back onto city council and say that he wants to serve the community more. And I, as someone who's first time on council, I've lived in Woodstock all my life, but you really have to rely on certain people on council to ask questions too. So Ron Fraser was certainly anything to do with first responders, especially the police, especially the fire department, would be to ask him questions of sort of the history of it. It's not only the dollars and cents today, but it's the sense of how we've gotten to where we are today in those areas. And the BIA was very important to Ron as well, and that's why he sat on the BIA board. The downtown and a downtown core and youth was very important to him as well. He was on the youth advisory committee, and just someone that really loved this community, and we certainly do miss him very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for the updates and the kind words for Councillor Fraser and the wishes for his family. I guess I would add, some of the interactions over the years might have been on the receiving end of getting some helpful advice as to how not to run into the constabulary as often. And then, of course, his time, this term of council, a very, very good dialogue for myself, his advice in dealing with matters for the BIA and the downtown and everything else, very helpful when we would have our discussions. Just seeing the impact in those committees that he had to inspire others to come forward and take that same level of care in the community. And I know this council today, we dealt with the formality for acting mayor, the position in case the mayor is unavailable for whether it's an event or signing an important document, or heaven forbid if an emergency situation arises and it needs to be declared. Now there's other vacancies, of course, we'll be dealing with. We'll have a report at a future meeting, and we'll be looking again for some additional appointments to other committees. One thing that I think really set Councillor Fraser apart is always recognizing the others, from staff to individuals in the community that maybe wouldn't have received the same type of attention. So it's very fitting that the flag was lowered at half-mast for not just Ron Fraser, but for Arlene Fletcher. And many people will remember her warm smile and the kindness that she brought to that role for so many years in the clerk's department with the crossing guards. And I know that I'll sorely miss the hug from Arlene. That would be a customary greeting outside of office hours. And our thoughts are also with her husband and family right now as well. And with that, everyone can stay up to date with what's going on the city website. There's going to be more announcements coming over the next few days from the province regarding COVID, and we'll continue our way forward as a council and as a city, and knowing that we are the friendly city and we're all in this together. So with that, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Accioni and a seconder, Councillor Schadenberg. All those in favor?